Aloha to Lo-Fi and welcome back. What we have here is breakthrough news. Um, Interviewing Brianna Joy Grey, talking about third parties.
I think it's actually a really important point, Brianna, because it just feels like uh, you, everything has to start somewhere, and it feels like people who just want something to just fall from the sky. Like, it would be great if we had
I've been saying this. We got to start somewhere. We got to start
a more
sometime.
progressive third party alternative. And if we go back in history, and that's the thing that drives me crazy, and I'm really looking forward to your interview with Jamal Bowman, is like when you go back in history, if you just like name people, and if I was like, well, Frederick Douglass was supportive of a quote unquote third party, and this list random names, you know what I'm saying, in that regard, everyone said, oh yeah, they were so great, and they were so trailblazing, and they were so that. Well, should we start a third party now of workers and the black community and the immigrant communities and start fighting back? Well, no, we can't do that now. And it just feels like at
The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today.
a certain point, like people have to recognize the history in front of us. Like if somebody doesn't start, the thing will never start.
You got to
It is
start
it
it.
is hard. It's gonna be an uphill battle. There's gonna be a lot of losses, but like the sooner we start, the sooner we can be successful. And by the way, the Republican Party was the third party. The Republican Party is the success story of what happened when the existing duopoly didn't meet the political moment on a polarizing issue that was at the time abolition. What happened? No one was willing to stand up and be full throatedly an advocate for a coalition that represented a significant portion of the population. What happened? A new party was born. We have that moment right now in Gaza, particularly in the lead up to the election. I mean, now you have this weird diffuse media coverage of
So the other day I said something almost exactly like this, but I said we have this moment now, and I said climate change and universal health care. Like Gaza to me is a big thing. Genocide is crazy bad, terrible. But I don't. In the U.S., we're kind of used to genocide. We do it to other people. So, I mean, I wish Gaza. I hope. Okay, if Gaza's the thing, I'm for it. Whatever makes the third party click in, cool. But I just kind of thought it was a little bit like, and that's why I picked more than one thing because I think climate change might be the big thing for most people, but universal health care touches all people, right? And then Gaza, like I'm on board with not on board with I'm on board with stopping the genocide. So I'm on board with her saying that too, but I just don't know if as many people in the U.S. are gonna jump on the Gaza thing.
the thing where it's it's like the Democrats talk about it only to use as a cudgel against the left, like, oh, look at these bad things that are happening. Somehow this is your fault, even though my candidates fully backed over a year of this horror show. Um,
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Hunter.
Let's recap on that a little bit.
now you have this weird diffuse media coverage of the thing where it's it's like the Democrats talk about it only to use as a cudgel against the left, like, oh, look at these
No,
bad things that are happening. Somehow this is your fault, even though my candidates fully backed over a year of this horror show. Um, but particularly when it was so front of mind in the lead up to the election, there was such an enormous opportunity to have
in the lead up to yes, this election, they could have used Gaza. Anybody, the Green Party should have talked about Gaza a lot more. I wasn't in the Green Party yet during the election. Just so you know.
a real primary and a campaign that listened to the fact that recent polling shows that 29% of people who voted for Biden in 2020 and didn't vote for him in 2024 expressly did so on the issue of Gaza. A candidate who actually spoke in economic class material terms the way that Bernie did in his response to the State of the Union. I mean, look, I want to caveat this by saying I'm deeply frustrated that Bernie is willing to use his great talents to sheep herd people back into the Democratic Party. But in terms of what he actually said and the impact of it and what people need to hear, his State of the Union response was almost, with the exception of the Ukraine part, pitch perfect, right? And he could have been that person, or someone else could have been that kind of a voice that would have been so attractive and could have led us off of the precipice of Donald Trump that we're all looking down into right now. And there was a complete
Right? If Bernie would have taken his following his movement to the Green Party, we had candidates there that people would vote for. You're gonna take it to the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden? Yes, some people will vote for them. Nobody on the left, not many young people, and nobody who looks at politics really, really deep. Hillary Clinton calling us super predators. Joe Biden saying over and over and over how he doesn't care about people that aren't in his family. Like, why would anyone vote for these people if they listen to what they actually said?
Unwillingness to do so, because at the end of the day, the more important thing is maintaining the status quo, including the national security, military-industrial complex status quo.
Well, to what you're saying, I mean, so one of the things that someone like Bernie Sanders will repeatedly talk about, but the rest of the Democratic Party won't, is, I mean, Trump is not, it's not that hard to criticize his agenda, because a lot of what he's doing is incredibly unpopular. Trump's not talking about it, but he's literally just like gutting programs that people rely on. He's destroying Medicaid. He's preparing to destroy Medicare, destroy Social Security. He's got Elon Musk like taking a hatchet to government funding for really important things in the country that the majority of Americans rely on or will eventually rely on. And it's an easy thing to attack. And Democrats aren't even doing that. So like Trump's not talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because they invented these people. Like the Democrats are chagrined, not because Elon Musk is running the government. It's because they empowered Elon Musk. They were in power when he was getting his big government grants and made him a billionaire and made him basically a mini defense contractor on whom the American national security apparatus relies for his surveillance technology and the satellites and whatnot. And they just wanted him to be on their team. Elon, you're supposed to be donating to me. Zuckerberg was supposed to be donating to me. All of these billionaires, the only problem is that they're switching teams. Bill Ackman, all of them are switching teams. That's their complaint. And so when you are just going through that list of all of the things that they're doing to loot the government, that's spot on. But also I think the part that Bernie connects it to that they're unwilling to do is to say, not only are they doing all these terrible things, but they're doing it to enrich the elites. Democrats don't want to offend the elite, so they tend to leave that part off. But that's what makes the story hang and sound true. Not just Democrats framing these people as like amorphously evil, but like these are billionaires who literally use their resources to buy the president of the United States so that they can loot the treasury and enrich themselves.
Exactly, and they do it with both parties. So that's why we need people. Like, it's time for us to meet the moment. Like, the people of the United States, we need to help the rest of the world get out of the Democratic Party, get out of the Republican Party, get into the Green Party, get into DSA, PSL, and the Libertarian Party, and let's work together. Let's do this. Like, the corporations are gonna corporate. They're gonna do their thing. We need to fight. We need to fight back.
These people as like amorphously evil, but like these are billionaires who literally use their resources to buy the president of the United States so that they can loot the treasury and enrich themselves. When Bernie Sanders was talking about how...
Speaking of, let me hit that up real quick. Just so that we know that both parties are on the sellout list.
Here's the only reason. See, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it. But what happened was they said, come back when you're 40, son.
Just trying to make it clear that both parties are sellouts to the billionaires or the corporate class,
Democrats
whatever
want to
you
offend
call it.
the elite, so they tend to leave that part off. But that's what makes the story hang and sound true. Not just Democrats framing these people as like amorphously evil, but like these are billionaires who literally use their resources to buy the president of the United States so that they can loot the treasury and enrich themselves. When Bernie Sanders was talking about how if the tax cuts are implemented, they will overwhelmingly benefit the wealthy while the taxes on working people go up. When he says not a single word was said in that speech about how your grocery prices are going to go down. And in fact, now we're getting articles in like the Washington, I think it was the Washington Post, correct me if I'm wrong.
So eggs, I told you the other day, yesterday, I paid $28 for, it was 5 dozen eggs, which I guess is a lot of eggs. But we used to pay, I think it was $12 for that same amount of eggs. So it's quite a price hike.
Talking about, well, it was kind of crazy that eggs were ever cheap, actually. They're so fragile. They're so delicate.
Announcement.
When he says not a single word was said in that speech about how your grocery prices are going to go down. And in fact, now we're getting articles in like I think it was the Washington Post, correct me if I'm wrong, that talking about, well, it was kind of crazy that eggs were ever cheap, actually. They're so fragile. They're so delicate. Did you see that one? I mean, this is the real,
Wow.
this is what's
Go to
happening.
Washington Post.
Oh my God.
You know,
eggs are
just such a-
fragile.
They're
Wow.
so fragile. How did we ever transport them so cheaply anyway? So like this is Bernie is able to close the loop because he doesn't just give you a villain, he gives you motive. And he shows you specifically how it's going to hurt you. When he said the thing, this I just watched this all this morning. I've been procrastinating it, so excuse me. It's all very front of mind for me. But when he said the thing about how like, okay, Elon's firing government workers, we've seen that covered a bunch. Fine, but Bernie takes it a step further. Rhetorically, this is I think very smart. He says Elon's firing these government workers and saying no one's entitled to a job and we shouldn't feel bad for them. Okay, well you might not be a government worker and maybe you think this is immaterial, but the cavalier attitude that he's bringing to this issue, what's going to happen when AI and Elon Musk decide to get rid of your job? Who's going to pay your mortgage? What's going to happen to you? Who's going to defend you when he finally comes for you? We all know that AI is coming. And I was like, ooh, spooky. Yeah, good point, Bernie. So it is his existence is useful because rhetorically he's demonstrating the path in a way that even centrists I think can't ignore and they're giving him plaudits for. But the unwillingness of the Democratic Party to ape what he's saying and to actually mean it speaks volumes about who they are and should be used by the left as an example of exactly why the Democratic Party isn't the path forward.
Exactly,
Yeah, 100%.
exactly. And the thing, like she said, that the Democratic Party won't do what Bernie, or talk about what Bernie's talking about. Bernie needs to leave the Democratic Party's space. Come to the Green Party, Bernie. Talk your shit there. Build the Green Party with your movement. It doesn't make any sense that you saw what Joe Biden just said. Bernie's in the prostitute party. Why? Why would you ever be in that party? Works with Strom Thurmond, brags about it, talks about he doesn't care about people. All kinds of crazy stuff in the Democratic Party. Bernie, you need to leave that party. Go to the People Party. Bernie, it's time for you to meet the moment.
And yeah, I think it was the Washington Post with the eggs. Just a shocking thing. Also, Trump
Well,
saying,
editorially, they can only talk about
The egg-pocalypse.
free market. What did Bezos say?
Individual
They're going to
liberty.
talk about the free market and personal freedom. So you have the personal freedom to no longer get the cheap, easy source of protein that eggs once were.
It's amazing. A tough time for farmers. It was also amazing. Trump said, saying the farmers need to bear with me because they bared with me the last time when at the end of his term, the farm bankruptcies were the highest they've been in 9 years. But that's a whole separate story for a whole separate time. Don't get me started on agriculture. But no, I think very.
So there you have it. I mean, obviously, I keep telling you guys to come to the Green Party. The Democrats do not care about you. They're not going to do anything for us. Bernie's taking his movement, and I don't know where he's going to take it to. But yeah, they want to roll over and play dead and whatnot. Let them. It's time for the people to go somewhere and do something. Backing these corporate Democrats is not going to help. It's not going to do anything different than the Republicans, the corporate Republicans. As they said, they work for the same people, slightly different, but pretty much the same, with the same outcomes. So let's go to a party that wants people-favored outcomes. But it's the only party that would want people-favored outcomes is a people-powered party. So the people got to come power the party. And you'll know this if you get your information from across the spectrum.